here's Brody Brazil.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to this sports broadcaster series. I can't believe we're already at episode number 5, dealing with longevity in the industry. Sounds like an interesting topic, right? I mean, if you're trying to get into this business, don't you want to do it for the long term? I think that should be your goal and your aim, and I haven't been around the longest. There are some true chiseled veterans that I look up to, but I've been around enough now to, I think, pass along some perspective from this regard, and I'll tell you why it's important as we go along here in the video. But let me first begin with the famous Post-it note of things I have to remind myself to say. Oh yeah, this is a series, and actually, I've only designed out 5 episodes from the start. Is this the end, or is this kind of still the beginning? Maybe there will be more that come out. I got to be honest with you right now, I don't have any, but stay tuned for that. There might be more. I'm also here to say that I don't claim to be an expert or the authority on everything in this field. Again, I've just been, doing it for a long time. That's kind of the point of this video. And I want to share and pass along these thoughts. These are things that I typically share with individuals in a one-on-one basis when they ask for advice. Now I wanted to make sure I put it here on YouTube so it'll last the test of time and it can be shared with so many more people interested in this topic. Okay, without further delay, let's talk about longevity in the sports broadcast industry. To me, longevity is king. And I know a lot of people are out there telling you how many awards and Emmys they've won and this and that and trophies and statuettes and plaques and all that stuff. Longevity in the end, to me, and as I go along, and it hasn't always been this way. I think when I was younger, awards were important. But the older I get, the more I realize longevity is king. It is better than awards. Longevity is also better than recognition. If you've been around long enough to outlast the constant change of the industry and expectations and pressures put on yourself and your teammates, I think that says more about you than any one individual award or recognition. It's a competitive business. And it really is a business. I know people think that sports broadcasting is mostly fun and you also get paid for it. It is a business at the very core. Let's never forget about this. And just like sports, it's super competitive for jobs and contracts and positions and opportunities. These things aren't just handed out to you. You really do have to earn your chance, but you also have to earn your keep. And again, going back to the topic of longevity here, I think it says a lot about somebody. If I just look at them and I don't know much about them and they say, I've been in broadcasting for 34 years, I go, whoa. What's your story? What's your secret? How did you do it? And how can I follow suit with that? What things can I pick up from you that might be valuable down the road? And maybe some of you watching this are already in sports broadcasting, but you're already thinking about decade number 2 and beyond. By the way, I should have stated this from the start. We're almost at 2024 as I record this. My first paycheck in television production, working in sports media, was 1999. Is this year 25? I mean, I'm only 42, about to be 43, but my goodness, 25 years just like that. Okay, here's something I can tell you about firsthand. You really do in this business, in sports broadcasting, you do have to avoid burnout. Think about when you're working as a sports broadcaster. It's not Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. You're not punching a time card in and clocking out when most people do. You're working a lot of nights, a lot of weekends, and a lot of holidays depending on the sports team's schedules. Basically, when they're playing games because other people are off work, you are also working. The fun is work, right? And the work is fun. Those two things are interchangeable. I'm not trying to diminish and say, oh, this is all work and no fun. Absolutely, there are rewarding parts, and you are typically watching and consuming a lot of sports so that you're knowledgeable when rehashing them out. Or in the case of a play-by-play announcer, your job is actually working the game, kind of like a coach or a player. But the fun and the work, they are very interchangeable. Sometimes there's more fun, sometimes there's more work, sometimes there's no fun, sometimes there's no work and it's all fun. You can't always predict that. Team results do matter. And I don't mean you and your teammates as a broadcaster. I mean the team that you're covering. I can tell you firsthand, I've covered a team that went to the final round of the playoffs. I've covered a team that had the worst record in their franchise history. I've seen both sides of the spectrum. And the bottom line is when things are going well just for the team, it makes your job so much easier. And it's not your fault if the team is good or bad. You're not playing, but it's an obvious statement. I think most people should understand this, but they don't really fully grasp it at all times. Team results do matter to your coverage and how you might even be perceived attached to any one particular team. But maybe some of you are going to get into covering all teams and all sports, and you might find yourself edging in towards one team or another because of their popularity or success. I'm just here to tell you that team results and how popular a team is and how much they're winning, it could make your job a lot more easy, a lot easier. Come on, Brazil. Being on all the time can be fatiguing. And in this day and age of social media, there's sports news, I don't want to say 24/7, but at least 18/7, right? Or 27, pretty much 20 hours of the day. You wake up early, you go to bed late, you can find sports news across North America almost around the clock. And so it can be fatiguing. Like 15 years ago, things were at a much different, slower pace. You could take a breath. Nowadays, you really have to keep up with storylines and coverage and multiple angles and little bits and pieces on social media instead of digesting big portions at one time. So being on constantly, as you're supposed to be, as a good sports broadcaster might have to be, it gets fatiguing. It also can get lonely. When I talk about avoiding burnout, here's me in this room talking into this mic all by myself for already 6 minutes of this video. Like, at some points, it should feel like a team effort. You're working with other people and you're broadcasting to a lot of people, hopefully. But being in front of the camera right now, it's just me and a lens, and that's it. And sometimes it can get lonely, and that can be part of burnout. The next topic here is that you cannot stop evolving. Whatever you learned in college, that might be a year ago, 5 years ago, 15 years ago, it's already outdated. Technology changes, professional initiatives change, like the company's objectives, they change, styles change, expectations from the audience change. You really do have to stay ahead of the curve. And I guess social media is an easy one to go back to. I'll never forget 2009 when I started this current job at NBC Sports. We had a consultant come in and looked at me and said, "Do you know about Twitter?" And I said, "Yes, I do." And this person said, "Are you on it yet?" And I said, "Why would I waste my time with that? To tell people what I'm doing in the moment?" Look what Twitter turned out to be for the broadcast media and the sports world. Even look what Facebook turned out to be. Look what YouTube currently is. Podcasts, all of these things have blossomed, and I really feel like it started somewhere in the late 2000s and got huge in the 2010s. That's just one example of how technology and initiatives and styles and expectations changed, and you got to stay ahead of the curve. I mean, who would have thought that at some point, a lot of people, not just myself, would have this home studio set up, where you can basically do work and a lot of the same work you do in a real studio from your home studio. So be ahead of the curve. What can I do that's on the cutting edge? You should ask yourself this all the time and never stop. The moment I think you get comfortable and you let people pass you, it's like a marathon. It's hard to catch up once you're behind the pace. A quick note on travel, which is a large part of sports broadcasting. A lot of sports broadcasters get into traveling full time. It is rewarding work. Don't get me wrong. Looking out the window and saying, wow, this is my job to go see all these new cities and places, and the company's generally paying for it. Now, you're working. It's not like do whatever you want on this trip. It's a road trip. It's a work trip. But you will see so much more. And I mean that in two respects. You'll see much more of the country, much more of the continent, much more of the world, depending on what the focus of your job is. But you're also going to see so much more, like literally behind the scenes of a team. Especially if you're on the charter flight, you're on the team bus. Look, even if you're traveling separately, like if you're flying commercial and staying at a different hotel, you're still going to see things, what this team is like for literally half their season when they're on the road. If you're not covering a team on the road, you're literally only seeing half of their actual season and who they are and things in person. But you will see so much more, and especially if you're on the team charter and the bus and the hotel, you're going to see a lot of things behind the scenes. You should enjoy the ride. You should enjoy the access. All of this is a thrill. I think it's a thrill for a certain demographic of person, usually younger, without a partner or commitments or a family, because it does take a real toll. People have asked me over the years, oh, you do the Sharks and the A's, baseball and hockey year round. Yes, I do. Do you travel? Oh, you think I could travel with those two teams all year round? It's already hard enough doing 120 baseball games and maybe 60 or 70 hockey games just from the studio. Barely any travel for me involved, occasionally here and there these days, but it takes a real toll. And that goes back to the longevity. You might want to consider how much you can bite off and how much you can actually chew in terms of travel and longevity, and if that is your aim in the career. Traveling may not last forever. I mean, in some parts of our industry, companies have already cut down on the amount of travel from a cost perspective, but who knows when you're going to be assigned to the road and when your day is going to come for the end of traveling. So enjoy it while you have it. Last thing I think here is just a note on good relationships. Like, it's important in any industry. I don't think I'm telling you any secrets here. You should be generally well-liked, well thought of. That doesn't mean you have to be a friend of everybody. There might be some people you don't like, or you don't just have to be buddies with everybody. Certainly it helps to network, and certainly it helps to have people on your side. But I think more than trying to be everybody's friend, you should be aiming for everybody's respect. To the point where even if I don't know you, I see you out there grinding and working hard and getting better and doing quality work and being accountable for the things that you write or print or say on television or YouTube or social, a podcast, or wherever else. There's a lot of people out there, honestly, that I don't even know personally. I can't say I like them or not because I don't know them, but I'm aware of them and they already have my respect. And maybe it changes if I get to really know them, but that's fine. For now, I'm looking at them from the professional lens, and they have my respect. And that's kind of what you want to be, right? You want to be somebody who instantly people know and are aware of and just respect, even if they don't actually know you as friends. I would also say that you should probably stay away from beefs. I've really tried over the years to avoid confrontation and conflict and the back and forth. I see it all the time on especially Twitter, but it doesn't gain you much. What are you trying to do? Like clap back on somebody and take a win on social media? It doesn't. What's the win for? What's the back and forth even for? Unless there's something that absolutely needs to be established or defended, just stay away from the beefs. I mean, I've engaged a few times, and it felt good to know that I was right about something from the start to the finish and just get it out there and then be done with it. But I don't let it carry on. I don't really want to let it linger. I just want to move on. And I would also say respect is used twice here, but rely on those who you respect. You're going to find people in this business that have been doing it a little bit longer, in different places. They've had more opportunities, and maybe you just respect their work. Rely on them. Ask them questions. Kind of feel them out. How do they do their job? What are their tricks of the trade? Respect is a huge deal here. Again, I think respect even more than friendship in terms of a good relationship. Oh, forgot to mention here, I talked about longevity in the industry. I tried to pick a photo where I looked old and grizzly there. That's from 2016. And that's almost like 8 years ago coming up on. Wow. See, I look older now because all that beard, it was darker back then. Now it's gray. That's why I don't grow it that long anymore. Well, the Sharks are in the playoffs. Man, the next time the Sharks are in the playoffs, you're going to see a totally different beard from Brazil. It's going to be the Joe Thornton edition, if you understand that. Very gray. All right. Hey, look, you made it here to the end of the video. You know I appreciate that. Thumbs up down below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and stay tuned. I promised you 5 episodes. This is episode number 5. Will there be a number 6 and beyond? We'll find out.